Hey guys, Ryan Dement from Chasing Happiness Podcast. I hope you guys are having a great day. This week on the podcast, we have Rich Friesen. He is an author, but what I really like about what we're going to talk about is money, relationship, mindset, but also even better, the deeper level of the instant gratification. Rich, welcome into the show.
Well, it's so good to be here. And I love the title, Chasing Happiness. And that's so much about what we want and the process. And oftentimes our process doesn't match what we want.
That is very correct. So tell listeners a little bit about your background before we get into the journey and start talking about that relationship with money.
Yeah, I started as a therapist. And then I had a friend who was in the exchanges in Chicago, and he invited me to go to Chicago and trade on the floor of the U.S. Mercantile Exchange. I did that. Then I opened a trading desk in San Francisco, traded for them for many years, then built my own trading firm. So I have both experience in the psychology and in the financial world. And what I found was that the financial world, and as you know well, and the psychology world, we tend to separate them in a way that doesn't serve us well.
Very, very, very true. And we seem to be in this place in life and society where instant gratification comes along. And I know we'll get into it and we'll go deeper into it. But let's start with a little bit from the top and money and so forth. What the best way to describe it is, why do we have a toxic relationship at times, or somewhere in our lives, a toxic relationship with money?
Well, this comes from multiple layers. So if we start with our family of origin, what were the messages? Money doesn't grow on trees. The love of money is the root of all evil. Wealthy people are bastards because they have money and they take it from the poor. Money is will corrupt you, or money solves all your problems, or we buy. What if you're a kid and your parents didn't really connect with you personally and they just gave you things to make up for it? Money then has another set of meanings. Then we rise to our schooling, our educational, and in the U.S., the educational underlying philosophy right now is around money, wealth, and culture is very well defined. Then we hit our peer group, and then we hit our job and our employment group. And as a result, then our political and cultural group on a larger level, we have all these voices inside of us. And then we wonder, why am I so conflicted? Why don't I just move forward? Why do I procrastinate? Why do I make money and then give it back? Why can't I save? And we have all these conflicting internal voices and belief systems that don't serve us well.
Wow, that's a lot to unravel. So let's peel back the layer of the onion. I mean, it's truthful. It's a lot, but we have a lot on our plates as, if you want to call us human beings, just people in general. And I think it starts at the beginning. I think in our pre-call that we had we talked about the school system, and you mentioned it too, but we can go back even further to your family unit and how that plays out. Let's just get right down to it. A lot of people want, success, and they think money is the root of success, and they think it's the most valuable asset we have, and truly it's time. Because we all have X amount of years on this planet, and you can't get back time. But you know what? You can lose money. I have, and I've gotten it back. So it can happen. So how do we start peeling the layer of the onion back? And I know I digressed in many different places, but let's just start from the beginning. The family unit, and how do we work through that process to be able to help us get us in a better place mentally, emotionally, physically with money?
Well, again, you brought up a whole bunch of different open topics there. So let's start with the family and the messages we got. If they are out of awareness, then we just repeat them on some level. So what we have is the golden keys, and that's a process of first awareness. And secondly, very important, is acceptance. In other words, oh, I'm aware of this conflict. Oh, I got to stop it. Well, how about we say, oh, that's interesting. This has been with me for quite a while, this voice. I wonder what its positive intent for me is. So awareness, acceptance, and then from there we can say agency. What would I like? What would I like to decide about this? And to have a higher level decision process rather than just a reactive one from our family beliefs, our peer groups, our education, our employers, or our very divided culture around wealth. I mean, right now, oh my gosh, you try to be reasonable around wealth and success. There's a cultural divide that wants to put you in one camp or the other. And
Correct.
that can change your friendships, your peer groups. It can change a lot of what you, how you behave. And so there's the internal conflicts, I think, are more intense than, say, they were after World War II.
So how do we, I've got to ask, how do we start addressing those, and how do we look at ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, I mean, I guess that boils down to even something more deeper, is that
Yes.
You first have to know what you want, one, and two, for me, I have to be thankful for the things that I have today. And I can't always say that I'm going to go after X, whatever it is, money, whatever. But until we actually can have the inner you match the outer you, how do we get there?
Well, that's why I wrote the book, A Private Conversation with Money, because what you pointed out, you've brought up a whole bunch of issues. Each one of them we could drill down on is that if we have these internal beliefs and internal conflicts, we're out of rapport with money, wealth, and success. So the book has 10 exercises in it. Each focuses on a very specific topic. And by the way, I've created a website for you. It's conversations.money/Ryan. And if people go there, they can also enroll in the course for free. So with the book and the companion course, you can now start to deal with each of these issues. So for example, how did you grow up in your family? What were the messages? What were the belief systems? How did they serve you? Now, each of these we recognize had a positive intent. When your dad said, money doesn't grow on trees, he was angry at the wealthy. He was disappointed because his retirement fund was eliminated when the company went bankrupt. He's angry at the world. We absorb all of this. Or what our mom, how she went spending, or our dad just spent every penny they had and built credit card debt up because they were longing for something and trying to substitute money for that. So we have all these different voices. So we have a bunch of different exercises to increase our awareness. But most importantly, and I think this is where your podcast really emphasizes, what is in our heart. And most of us and many of us have a hole in our heart and an emptiness, and we fill it with money, things, and the trappings of success.
Yes.
And as a result, there's never enough. We're trying harder. We're under stress, and it doesn't feel good. Now, the exciting thing is you can still be successful, but from a very different context, one in which you are in rapport with yourself, your meaning, and wealth. And that's what the book comes to. What is the value you value yourself, and what value do you bring to the world?
So if I'm struggling with all that, and I saw somewhere in my readings last week or this week, someone talked about we're always chasing success, but we never slow down to actually understand what we have and enjoy what we have. How do we get there? I mean, what are some steps maybe from the book that you can share that we can start working on to better ourselves?
Mm-hmm. Well, again, we start with awareness. So, for example, one of the first exercises in the book is what we call the 3-chair exercise. And in this, if pre-COVID, people would come to my office and I would ask them to bring a representative of money. So for some people, they'd bring a stack of $100 bills. or a bank statement, a brokerage statement. One guy even brought a whole couple of bars of gold. So we put it in one chair. We sat him in the other chair. And then there's the third chair of the wise observer. And so you talk to money. So in the first chair, now there's a huge wide variety of conversations that happen with this exercise. And it's in the book and it's scripted so you can do it yourself. And it's like, why do you always leave me? Why do you come and then you go again? What is on with you? I want to get closer. I want more of you. So we go through that and we get the underlying expression, and we encourage people to find that voice that is just unhappy. Then we transfer to the money chair, and money says, you chased me away. I feel like you're groping at me. I don't feel like I want a relationship with you. So again, that's just one example of many responses. Some of them are the opposite. I love you. I want to be closer. But you keep doing this and this and this. And as a result, I can't really stay with you. And then we switch them to the wise chair, the wisdom, and have them observe the conversation. What do you notice? What is going on? And sometimes it just brings tears to their eyes, and it brings tears to my eyes too, as they open up and realize the processes they bring to their relationship with money, that they're fighting money, they're out of rapport with money. And what we do then is we continue the work to bring rapport with money, meaning, their life, and success. And once they do that, then we have some techniques to go from there to expand that.
Can you elaborate a little bit about, I'm not trying to give it all away, but how...
give it away!
I mean, what could be some ideal tips? Because we all struggle with money at some point in our life, maybe multiple times. I don't know. But what could be some tips that we could use today that could help us with that relationship?
Well, one of the concepts we have is we think of money as a certificate of appreciation. So when you deliver value to somebody and they give you money, what if it was a certificate of appreciation of the value that you gave to them? Oh my God. Here's the certificate of appreciation. It's not money. I delivered value to somebody and they gave me this. Or, I do a service or you do a service for me, and I give you a certificate of appreciation. And I say, and we have a mantra you can go through. Here is a certificate of appreciation for the value you have delivered to me. The value you have delivered to me is worth more, and I want to give you the certificates of appreciation. So what that does is, in our minds, our brains have just tied together and conflated so many things about money that what I'm trying to do is create a whole new context so that if we think of money as certificates of appreciation. Should I go here? Yeah, sure. Here's the scary part.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I like the scary part.
Well, okay. Most people are going to go, if you are delivering value to others in a commercial sense, the more certificates of appreciation you have, the more value you have delivered to the world. Oh my gosh, that totally changes the concept of wealth. There are lots of ways to deliver value. You think of Martin Luther King as one example. Nothing to do with money. Tremendous amount of value he delivered. And we need people who deliver value in spiritual ways, psychological ways, and commercial ways to keep our lives really abundant and vibrant and live the lives that we want. So if you choose to live life and be in a commercial sense or have a job or employer, what if you will, let's go this way. What if everyone tomorrow in the world woke up and said, how can I deliver value to my family, my community, my employer, my employees, my clients, how can I deliver value? Well, I need another skill. I need to practice this. I need to improve my language. I need to spend more time with family or whatever. If everyone woke up tomorrow and said, how can I deliver more value? Do you know what would happen to the GNP? Yeah, there's no limit to the amount of value we can deliver to each other. So the whole book brings us to the point. Joe, the journalist, is the hero in this, and he starts as a social justice warrior, resentful for capitalism, wealth, everything about money he hates, and yet he still wants it. He's conflicted. And then he comes to a point where he says, and this really touches me, how can I deliver more value to the world? And his choice is educating kids in disadvantaged neighborhoods.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So what if we were to wake up tomorrow and everyone say, how can we deliver more value and get more certificates of appreciation? Now, we've gone from money is the root of evil, wealthy people are bad, and all those messages, those political and cultural messages, to all of a sudden, we are now in rapport with ourselves, our deepest values, and our ability to connect with other people by delivering value to them. Oh my God, what a shift.
And that's a very powerful shift, because ultimately our relationship with money is something that is, as you said, goes back to the family. But what I wanted to talk about is it's not that hard to, and I say this, I don't want to say, I will say it. It isn't that hard to shift your mindset with money, as long as you understand what you're trying to do and what's in your heart. I mean, one of the things that I struggled with, and I had the same problem with money. Why am I not getting more? I'm chasing the success, all those things. But then once I found my passion, and I could turn it into a you say commercial entity, I call it for profit. It changed my life, because ultimately, at the end of the day, my customer, home buyers in neighborhoods that have been left behind from any type of private investment that created homeowners out of that, that's my win. I get to take people that were unbankable, didn't have a bank account, couldn't qualify for a mortgage, to owning their own home, qualifying for a mortgage, having their own bank account, and understanding that they can get credit or work in the credit environment that most people take for advantage. That is rewarding. And I can still remember the very first house that we sold almost 10 years ago. I broke down and cried on a national, well, not national, it was a local television news show, because it was a single mom with 2 kids. And I had to think, because she just had a 3rd kid. She's now married, but she was able to afford this house that was about half of what her rent was. If I remember right, she was paying almost $1,000 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. Jeez. And her mortgage on this house was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath home, roughly about 890 square feet. Let's call it 900 square feet. She was going to pay $475, $480, if I remember right, the payment. And she couldn't believe it. And when that happened in front of everybody in the house, I broke down and cried. And it's like, you know what? That's what I'm here for. These are the things that I enjoy. And the byproduct of it is, yes, we do make money. I mean, that's just part of life. But the happiness and joy.
I felt a slight twinge there of defensiveness. Did I hear that right? That, we make money, but I just want to be clear to see if there's any voices there that you have that maybe
for me. It's a challenge, because this has been almost a 10-year challenge. When you go into this space of affordable housing, sustainable housing, you're competing against all these nonprofits, and the nonprofits thinks the for-profit is a big bad wolf, because we're making money off of people. So that is an inner voice to me, because I had to prove that for several years at the beginning that, you know what, I can still sell a better home than the nonprofit for a reduced price and still make money while you guys are losing money as a nonprofit. That is my inner voice.
That is sustainability, an example that is just wonderful. Because if you are receiving certificates of appreciation for value that you have delivered, that means you're sustainable and can continue to expand and do that more rather than being limited by either government or donations. So this is such a wonderful example of receiving certificates of appreciation that not only deliver value, but create a new world for people, for them to continue to create more value for themselves. Wow, what a win-win-win.
It is. And it's rewarding. It's great. I mean, out of that, we did have to form a nonprofit as much as I didn't want to. We did because we have a whole other aspect that I'm not an expert at, but I'm good, is financial coaching and literacy. And I think we talked about it on our pre-call, is that most of the people that come to us are financially illiterate and they need help. We need the support of either, unfortunately, grants. And I say unfortunate is because grants take time, and we want to be able to help people at all cost and move forward. So we have other ways to back that up. But the biggest thing that I want to get out of this is these individuals, we're here to help. And we can do whatever it takes to help you, but you have to be the one that's doing the work. And what we tell them is, we're ready. We'll be here when you're ready. And majority of them do come back. But a lot of them at first don't think they're worthy. And that's a challenge. And yeah.
Oh, you just brought up something that is so important. I work with professional money managers and traders as the earliest part of my career. And what amazed me is ones that make money, lose it, make money, lose it, make money, lose it. And when we get to this point, and then we get down to the depths of the soul, there is an identity problem that I am not worthy. And so they sabotage themselves. Mm-hmm. It's this, even wealthy people, they deal with the worthiness issue on the deepest level and their beliefs about the world. And so bringing them down and giving them awareness of those deepest belief system is so important. And what you're bringing up is, you can't help somebody who has the feeling of unworthiness because they'll figure out ways to sabotage it.
That's exactly it. I mean, that's truly it. And like I said earlier, I can tell within 5 minutes of talking to somebody whether they're going to want to do the work or not. And mm-hmm. two, if they feel that they're worthy of the change. But and this could take us down a whole nother rabbit hole, is I think that's just more than just money. It's life.
Yes.
And how we view our lives and what we think of being comfortable and what that does to us. And I really, this is just me talking out of my, from my heart, is I think most people that come to us for financial coaching really truly believe that they cannot get out of that way because they were meant for that. And they don't realize, with a shift in mindset, a change in your heart, in the way you want to live your life and believe it, it changes, but it's the work that you have to put in to get there.
Well, it's so clear to me now, it wasn't for many years, that my mindset changes the world. Mm-hmm. That what I believe about myself, who I am at the deepest levels, irradiates out, and people sense that on a subconscious level or even a conscious level. And as a result, they shift. When I walk into a room now, I walk in slowly, my head's up, there's people I haven't met, and heads towards me, and heads turned toward me. Very different. Walk in like this, kind of look around, move to a corner. There is that my world. I remember a few years ago, I went to a big meeting and I was down on myself and feeling badly, and nobody wanted to talk to me, and I felt rejected, and I couldn't get a conversation. I just left the meeting pissed off. Next time went to the meeting, a different space, right? Boom, connections, talking, great conversations. Wasn't the people, it wasn't any different other than my own internal state of being. And so what we can do, and what you're pointing out is so beautiful, is we can't control the outside world, but when we change our state of being and our state of mind, the outside world will respond.
And that's the inner into the outer. And I agree with you 100% on that. It's amazing if you can start changing the way you feel inside, the outside actually changes, and that impacts the outside world. And it's life changing, and it's hard, but it's worth it. I mean, yeah. I go back to the same adage: is we're only on this planet for X amount of years. Why not live life and live the life that you want to live? Ultimately, being stuck in the same place, doing the same thing over and over again. I know it's the old adage, it's a definition of insanity, but come on. I mean, you're meant to be the person that you want to be, but you have to put the time and effort in to make it happen. And I just see so many people that just don't want to do it. And it's like, I don't understand that concept, but they come to me, okay. We can have a conversation, and then we figure it out.
Well, I think what you're pointing to is what we call our survival mechanism. For example,
okay,
I grew up in a house. My father was a narcissist. My mom was depressed. I didn't get much from her. So what I wanted in my life was recognition. So I keep looking for recognition. So early in my life, when I chose mates and women and relationships and business, I looked for somebody outside to fill that hole in my heart. So when I developed agency, I then said, okay, what is my survival mechanism? I know how to survive being ignored. I'm really good at that. I mean, I'm so good at that. I'm so comfortable with that. If you were to ignore me right now, I know I can handle it. But my gosh, do I know how to handle a lot of love and connection and warmth and acceptance? No. So what I did is I created a world of people and situations that allowed me to stay inside of my survival mechanism. We all have some issues that we learn to survive. And here's what's really crazy. We recreate the external world in a way that allows us to exercise our survival mechanism. So when you ask, why do they do that? It's because we can survive this. It's always amazing to me. We have a class structure. We have, the poor, we have the lower class, the middle class, the upper class, the wealthy. How do those boundaries get set? Right here.
Yeah.
As a part of our survival mechanism.
Oh boy, we could go into a lot of conversations and go down some rabbit holes with this one, but I got to stay on point here a little bit. So let's get back to money and how we can be better with it, one, but two, create the life that we want.
Well, for me, there's a whole, like you well know, there's a whole bunch of stages, a whole bunch of issues. So I have chosen in the book to really focus on those internal conflicts and bring rapport to ourselves. Now, once we have a rapport, there's a whole bunch of skill levels that we haven't touched on. For example, when my kids were young, my wife, and she does have all my money, by the way. My wife created a bank of mom. She called it the Bank of Mom, and put the allowance in and gave them some exorbitant interest rate so they could really see their money grow. And the kids, all three of them to this day say, that Bank of Mom really taught me a skill of delayed gratification. So, and that's just one skill, a debt, or just impulse buying, or saving, creating the skills we need to deliver more value to our employer. You're at a job you don't like, you resent the boss and whatever. Can you turn that into a new skill to manage those difficult situations? So there's a whole bunch of skills built up, but if we still have those old survival mechanisms, those old voices, those old conflicts, it's very difficult to use the skills on a higher level to get to where we want.
So then how do we take those conflicts and start, I say minimize them, but because it takes time, but how do we start working with them? I mean, is it peeling back the layer of the onion and taking one at a time, or are we sitting down and really just figuring out all of them? I mean, for me, and this is just me, I rather just peel the Band-Aid off and let it bleed and take it head on, because I don't want it to drag out, because it's, one, a waste of time, and two, it just eats at me. I rather just, okay, here's my problem, here's the issue. How do I solve it? Or what do I need to do to make it better? I don't know many people that'll do that, but that's just me speaking out loud right now.
Have you been rewarded by pulling the Band-Aid off and having a better life afterwards?
Of course.
Some people have never had that experience and they avoid it.
So can I ask why? I mean, this is deep. That's why I want to ask. So why would they not be able to take the problem head on and not be rewarded for it? Because they couldn't solve it?
Because they might die. I mean, that's an exaggeration.
Okay.
That's survival mechanism.
Far. Yeah, it's far.
That survival mechanism says we can survive the pain we have. There's a book, I can't remember it. You Can't Stop Me. It's about a guy whose father was incredibly abusive. And then he went on to when they run across the Sahara Desert, marathons, pull-ups, all sorts of really tough athletic things. And he ascribed it to discipline. But I reframed it. And what I saw was him being abused as a child. And he figured out a way to abuse himself as an adult because he didn't properly prepare. He really hurt himself physically. So what we do is we stay in that mechanism. We know how to survive. So again, if it's awareness, what if we were to list our survival mechanisms? How did we survive our childhood? 2, how do we recreate that subconsciously? Sometimes this gets really subtle, but I can catch that little voice that is going to say something that's going to recreate a process that no longer serves me. But I do it because I can go back to my comfort zone.
Yes.
So the book, and this is, you're asking, you couldn't have asked a better question. It's a series of exercises, step at a time, that it's not ripping the Band-Aid off, but it's inviting you to step into a world that feels better and is safer. But to do that, we have to know it's safe. And the exercises in the book do that, to say, first, let's imagine this. What can go wrong? What will you lose? And then to say, is that true? Oh, you mean I can actually step into this world of more warmth and people who like me and I won't die? Okay.
Amazing.
Maybe.
Well, I guess it's because I have a different mindset, and maybe that's just how I'm wired. And I get it. Everyone's different, and everyone doesn't want to peel the Band-Aid off and go. I think if I don't peel the Band-Aid off, I'm going to die, because that's what's holding me back. And I think that's my mindset, is everybody should be that way. And I've had to learn along the way for financial coaching for these individuals that most of them, exactly how you speak, they don't want to take the Band-Aid off. They're too afraid because they've functioned very well in this secondary market of credit, and they're fine. They think they're fine, and that's their comfort zone. But then when you start digging down deep and start asking some pretty pointed questions about why do you want to be a homeowner and what are you looking to accomplish out of it, and then you start seeing the cogs are turning a little bit, they know they need to get out of it, but they're just not quite ready. So you have to find another way to draw that out of them to understand that, well, I can be a homeowner. Well, I could also pass this on to my kids. Or right now I live in a 1-bedroom apartment and now I could give my kids their own bedrooms. I mean, there's just so many things. There's so many things that come out of it. And they don't realize that they had dreams and aspirations as kids or young adults that were, I don't know, squashed, whatever you want to say, because of life. Life happened. And I said, I understand life wins, but guess what? You get to fight back too, because you're living it. And being able to have that conversation to understand that they have the ability to change, but also to go after their passion or their goal is totally achievable. And it's okay to want those things. That's the other thing I've learned, and I'll stop, is it's not, they think it's not okay to go after something that they want to achieve.
Oh, yeah. Their dreams have been crushed so many times that they don't want the pain again.
Yes.
And so I so appreciate you creating an invitation to tap into their deepest desires and giving them a path to get there and the safety to do so. Well done.
Thank you. I mean, it's hard. I mean, because I'm not wired that way. So I've had to take a lot of practice and a lot of work at it. Yesterday, I was working with a lady that I've been financially coaching for 3 months now. And in our very first meeting, she told me, "Hey, I just filed bankruptcy." Okay, let's go through it. Let's talk about it. And then I started asking her personal questions about her. And she goes, "Well, that's not financial coaching." I said, "It is, because I'm getting to learn who you are. But I also want to know what's on the inside and what you're trying to accomplish, because you've told me all the money issues. Money has roots in all different places, and they're like weeds. It pops up. I got to figure out where they're all at so you can get yourself in the right place, since you filed bankruptcy, but you want to become a homeowner. And if you want to become a homeowner, you're going to have to do some work, because bankruptcy does hinder that process, but you can overcome it after a period of time, but you have to be willing to do the work." And from that point on, she's like, "I'm sold. I get it." So she filed Chapter 13. And so she's working through that process. So at least it's a teaching process. So I can work with her on making payments, because if she doesn't make it on time, then it falls through and it's not discharged, it's dismissed. And then now our creditors come after. So there's a whole bunch of things in there that we can peel back the layer of the onion. But the one piece that really touched home for me is she goes, "You're not worried about the money. You're not worried about the financial coaching. You're worried about the person." I said, "Yeah, that's what makes me happy, is you getting into a better place for yourself." Because I don't know exactly how old she is. I would probably say she's in her mid-50s. And it's almost like starting over for her. She has 2 grandchildren, and she wants to do well for them and teach them a different path. And I said, there's your reason. There's your why. Now you need to focus that and really take that to heart.
Yeah, oftentimes we'll do things for our kids and grandkids we won't do for ourselves, and we'll make those changes. And what you're talking about is looking to the future, creating the future. A lot of clients come to me and I'll say, we'll go through the issues and say, "Okay, now tell me what you want. Describe in detail your wonderful future." And they'll go back to the problems. "Okay, describe in detail." They'll go back to the problems. They can't even envision a better future for themselves. And their bodies, their psychology, their thoughts will not let them step into that future until they've described it, they sense it, and it is safe. One of the biggest surprises to me was working with people is that a lot of them will have a belief that they lose something by stepping into their future. And they go, "What? No, I won't lose anything. That'll be wonderful." But as we work through the ecology of it, I might become an asshole. I might lose my friends. Everyone will want money from me. I have to spend a lot of time with finances and financial people, and on and on and on. So and once we recognize what they might give up with wealth, then we can handle it. Say, "Okay, here's how we can handle this. Would that be okay? Okay, now we can fully step into that future without those subconscious drags."
It's a daunting task. It's a lot. It is a lot. And I deal with that on a daily basis. And Never thought I would have to do it pretty consistently, but I enjoy it. It's fun. For when I say fun, it's fun and rewarding because I get to learn about people and how they tick and just understanding where they're coming from. I have a deeper respect for people that actually put the time in and want to make that change. Most people, I would probably say, want to do it. They just don't know how, or like you said, stepping into that future is a little daunting and a little scary, but they'll
Mm-hmm.
do it. They'll do it over time when they figure out there's a reward there for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then it happens. And that's the best part. When it happens, it's like the light bulb comes on. I smile and it's like, wow, that is so great that you actually have that going for you. And you know that you can do this, and it becomes unlimited at that point because now you're really, as you said, they're coming together and making that happen for themselves. And at that point, sky's the limit, or whatever you want to say at that point, because they'll do whatever they can do at that point because it's a little taste of success, and all of a sudden whew, it goes, and it feels great.
It does. And in my repeating what you said from my point of view is if we can step into that future and I'll say, how does that feel? Oh my God, that feels a lot better. In my current way of thinking is we only make a change to a new set of contexts of identity, beliefs, and behaviors if it feels better in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as we can imagine something, they say, oh, that feels better. Then it's not discipline. It's not force. It's not pushing. It's not fear-based. It's we're stepping into something that feels better in the moment. So my job is to arrange it so that they can have a context to step into that feels better and is in rapport with their values, their meaning, and their life.
That is so great. We've covered a lot in this conversation, so I'm very thankful for having you on. It's been great. I have to ask, best way to get a hold of you if someone wants to talk to you, or would you want to direct them to the website? What would you prefer?
Sure. Conversations.money and /Ryan will get them to the book and to the course that for your audience.
Okay.
If they want to contact me, it's, what is it? Rich at conversations.money.
Okay. And I'll
Rich,
put it all in the show notes so they can have a link there so people get to see it.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for coming on. It's been a great conversation. I know we could have another conversation, so we'll circle around at a point in time again and have you back on so we can go a little more depth and start drilling down even further.
This has been a wonderful conversation. It's been so creative, and if I may give you an appreciation for your own personal openness, your honesty, that really makes the conversation really valuable and wonderful, and it's a way to connect with people, to invite them to a better place in their life with your heartfelt honesty. So I appreciate.
Thank you, sir. And I hope you have a great day, and we'll be talking soon.
I will. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.